for the warm welcome, and I must say I enjoyed the train ride to Poznan. It's my first time here, but it's a great city, and it's my second time to Impact, so thank you for the invitation. I actually want to talk a little bit about shaping the future of music in Web3, which is a huge, huge topic, I must say, and we as 12 by 12 try to tackle this from the very beginning, and also taking in account the structure of music itself. I will talk about this a little bit later. And on the other side, about the awareness of people, musicians, fans, how they actually see it, which is a big field, because right now, looking overseas, we have a huge Web3 community in Europe and Germany. It's still a small thing that is kind of growing, but there's always worthwhile to have a look overseas to understand what might be coming over to Europe again. And that's actually how we started. First of all, I must say we are always in for the long haul play. That's a super important part, because there is a huge educational part that you actually have to take care of when it comes up on onboarding of the artists. So what we are doing is we actually created a blockchain-driven community platform with an integrated NFT marketplace and an integrated own metaverse. So why are we doing this? Because it's normally not about the people to take that discussion too technologically. You always have to see how you actually build up your community and explain the community what is the add value of using blockchain technology, and one part of it, the NFT itself. And one disclaimer also on top of it, I know a lot of people are talking about NFTs, but I must say in the very first place, it's used very generally, and most of the tokens you can see there, when they are actually acting as access tokens or whatsoever, they are mostly utility tokens and not so much NFTs. But, and I think this is also something that has to be taken into consideration. One look on some numbers, which I think is very interesting, very small numbers. If you look, for example, in Germany, roughly about 4% are right now owning NFTs, and I think you can compare the numbers with the European countries itself. They won't differ so much, but if you look at the second number, that about 3.4% are actually considering to actually buying NFTs. And there you actually can see you have a rise of acceptance in the community, in the fans community. But in the end, it's still a very low amount of people that are actually dealing with it. And most of them that are coming out there are actually people that have strong relationships to the Web3 community. And that's actually what you have to consider if you basically look at a specific sector, and in our case, into music. So taking this into account, we actually try to look at the music landscapes, and what most people don't understand is music is always a regional thing, a thing that happens in the region in the very first place. And if a musician is becoming internationally, then he has a lot of luck, but mostly he grows in the region and he stays in his regions. So if you build up a NFT marketplace and you want to promote, or if you want to sell your music or your art or music-related art to your community, you always have to look at your regional community, what you have. Look, for example, 80% of the music market is ruled by hip-hop, and hip-hop is not only coming out of the US, but you have your regional hip-hop stars, which only have the regional territory. So if he goes out, and we saw a couple of things, a couple of drops happening in that area, which weren't very successful, because they actually tried to drop it on OpenSea, but you don't have the community for them on the OpenSea. So you have to build up your own Web3 community using Discord or whatsoever, actually to create the right buzz on what you actually to achieve a successful drop on it. So what are we doing and what are we offering in the end? So we kind of saw and said the very first step is the design of the NFT formats and the design of the NFT campaign. Normally an NFT will never be successful if you just go out and do one drop. You have to create a campaign around it and actually to run it and go for the long haul and try to actually establish on the NFT campaign to get it successful. Therefore, you need to design or create an NFT campaign together with the artist. So you look into the artist and we kind of decided in the very first step not to go the so much scalable approach, but in the very first step also look at act as an agency to basically take artists, labels, or different stakeholders on hand to basically create the best outcoming NFT campaign for them. The second thing we do then is execute it in the end, and then comes the technical part, which is the minting. So we take care of all the minting stuff, and in the end you have the distribution and the marketing part to use all powers through your community to actually promote it and market it in the right way. So if you look at the different NFT components, I'm pretty much sure you're aware of it. You have different things. Normally you have content assets, you have utilities, or you have rights, which you actually implemented. It's not only the one thing that makes it powerful, it's always the combination, how you actually design with these different kind of tools the right NFT campaign together. So talking about our NFT formats and our NFT campaigns, how we basically build it, we always start up with a community token. The community token is basically something where you just go out and heat up the community. You give them different kind of things like access to Discord channel, you give them ad value, and very important is that if you look at the normal music fan, you have to look at the pricing, you have to look at the metrics, and for most of the people that are tech savvy but not Web3 familiar, they actually always try to identify the price scale between what is in the analog world, something worth, and what is digital worth. So sometimes to kick off the community token, we decided mostly to integrate kind of a merchandising article where the purchaser in the end have a relation to the price itself. Let's say he goes to a fan shop, buys a cappy, hoodie, or socks, or whatsoever for 30 bucks. Then he actually knows if you implement it and you adjust the price to it, he knows and he has a comparable thing and says like, okay, I'm getting at least my value out of the real world, to actually bring him into the Web3 kind of thing to understand how this basically works. So the event token is pretty simple. What we are doing, like with the integrated metaverse, which we see kind of as a promotion tool for artists, where they actually can showcase their events, where they can do their release parties for their NFTs. So you integrate that and basically give them an NFT as an access token to the different kind of events. Alongside, we normally decide to integrate a collector part. We had just one drop with one famous hip-hopper, Haftbefehl. I'm not sure if you know him. He's one of the biggest in Germany. And he actually created kind of a comic strip behind it where we described his whole journey, how he basically became to what he is right now, and launched different kind of pieces of that comic. So gave them basically the community a possibility to trade and switch all these different kind of parts together. The audio token in the end is pretty simple. We believe that the NFT itself becomes the new vinyl of digital ownership. So basically before people release on their normal streaming platforms or wheresoever, they go out and release it via NFTs so that a specific amount of people have access before it basically comes out to the direct release, which gives like direct more revenue back to the artists. We all know the problems around Spotify and the royalty payouts. Last but not least, the most interesting part of it is the share token. The share token is something where the NFT becomes more an investment vehicle for the fan to directly invest into the artist. And that goes in a very simple way. So normally you have very old structured contracts, publishing contracts, label contracts, where the artist normally gives away all his rights to the different kind of stakeholders in the industry and comes back with a very bad deal. He has to pay off whatever, 40%, 30%, depends on the famousness of the artist itself, how much he actually has to pay for it. If he goes out and directly distributes his rights, for example, the Spotify incomes or whatsoever, to the token holder, he gets an advanced payment without giving rights back, and he has the possibility to, in the end, being financed not through these established companies, but being financed through his fans himself, which is then in the end the glue between the artist and the fan. So there is a timeline. We normally start off with the community token and then end with the share token. The order is not quite of right here. And as my time is running out, I just want to give you some examples of the case studies we did. This is Haftbefehl. So just to see what we did is like we had a very scarcity price. We went down with 30 euros for 400 pieces. It was sold out in 24 hours. And it shows, that example actually showed very well that if you go out with the right concept, if you go out with the right artist and have the right amount in place, then you also can go with a very small and growing Web3 community and have a successful drop. Thank you so much.